Rhythm games didn't really start hitting their stride until the 2000s, where Dance Dance Revolution took the entire world by storm with its innovative layout and track list that had players absolutely hooked back then, and veterans of the game still stay in tune almost 20 years later. For a console like the NES or SNES, however, there were very few games that could even be classified as such, as a concept like a rhythm game had yet to be thoroughly explored. Almost 40 years later, the NES gets their first fleshed out rhythm game entirely made by one person, and is one of the most nostalgic and tasteful rhythm games I've ever played. Hyperbeatz is an NES rhythm game created by Anthony Blackman, aka Cardboard Box, who is a very prominent dance game player, avid music producer, and occasional game developer. Ever since I saw some teasers of a typing rhythm game he created a couple years back, Hyperbeatz, I was pretty eager to try it, but from what it seems like, that project still may be on the back burner. Come just a couple days ago as of writing this, Anthony would release a rhythm game specifically meant for the NES after creating a platformer for the same console. The trailer looked pretty nifty, and knowing he was a music producer too, I was definitely interested to see how this game would play out. The number one thing that should be addressed is that if you don't have an NES, SNES, or any controller resembling it, you probably won't enjoy this game that much. Given how the original controller is built, you will be utilizing your thumbs a ton since you have to do patterns that will shift your hands back and forth, but even that motion feels so fun on a controller like this. The layout is also pretty easy to follow and adapt to just after a few songs, with the directional buttons on the left and the B and A buttons laid out just how they are on the controller. The charts in this game work so seamlessly and utilizes the entire NES controller to its full potential. Stream sections feel exhilarating on charts like Bullet Barrage, Chip Squeak, and Space Journey, and there's even a chart that requires you to utilize diagonal inputs like Chonkatron, something that for me personally took a decent bit of tries to pass. The medium charts are very well structured and paced too, and while I haven't taken a look at the easy ones, I'd imagine they're good introductory charts to ease you into everything. Along with that, the soundtrack is so solid all around, as some of these songs sound like they belong in games like Mega Man, Contra, Gradius, etc. There's so many 8-bit bops that you could just turn your brain off to and just have some genuine fun with this game. The bare-bones nature is also quite fitting, and something I tend to gravitate towards more personally anyways. No fancy graphics or background, no arbitrary or convoluted scoring system. Everything is as straightforward as it can possibly get, and if anything represents the NES's aesthetics pretty well. The biggest reason why this game is playable, however, is the implementation of adjustable scroll speed, reasonable timing windows, and some hidden codes you could find after completing some songs to spice the game up too. The biggest surprise to me, though, was the ability to adjust your audio offset, which is perfect for players that play on all sorts of monitors. Its two-player mode is also very easy to use, as it utilizes the same playing field for both players instead of having to resort to using two smaller ones that would make the game much harder to read. Little things like this make the game so much more playable, and it's so surreal to see this through the lenses of a console from the 80s. With all that said, I do wish there was more content, but given this game from the development to the soundtrack was created entirely by one person, I'm surprised it came out as well as it did. I would genuinely be interested to see a future adaptation for this with other 8-bit artists included, as I think with the full 40 to 50 song soundtrack, this game could have so much more replayability. Downscroll would be a nice addition, and save files would be cool too, as I'm currently relying on an emulator to save everything, but I also don't have any experience with how implementing things like that work, so I'm not going to try and assume what can and can't be done with the current NES development tools. Hyperbeatz is one of the most charming rhythm games I've played in a while, as with the right hardware, it plays like an old school rhythm game that you would have been addicted to when you or your parents were younger. The soundtrack's hit right, the simplistic menu and clean charts are great, and it incorporates just about all the basic elements modern rhythm games have, but while still retaining its core values and aesthetics as an NES title. If you're even remotely interested in trying this game out, pick up an NES or SNES controller and plug yourself into one of the most unique and enjoyable rhythm game experiences you'll ever have. Thank you to all my patrons for supporting the channel, and if you'd like to support the channel for more rhythm gaming content like this, feel free to check out my Patreon, drop a sub if you're new here, and check out my other links below. I'll see you all in whatever video I upload next, and take care.